Welcome to the Mercer County Football Show with the Trentonians' Rich Fisher. I'm Sean Lerman. The show brought to you by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton. And Rich, as we start to get now into week 4, last week we were saying that we were getting an idea of who was good, who was going to have a tough year. I think this week we've really seen a lot of stuff get not set in stone, but we're getting a really good idea of what's going on in Mercer County.
Yeah, I think so. There were some games last week there that were still a bit of a surprise. Hopewell beating Notre Dame, although Notre Dame didn't have their starting quarterback and everything like that. But yeah, the haves and the have-nots are starting to develop a little bit, and you just never know, though, Sean. You look back to Hamilton West last year, and they went 1-4, and they ended up getting in the playoffs. So some teams just need to figure something out. A few little glitches here and there, but I think we're seeing that. Some of the teams are really starting to develop, and then there are still some though that are still in that murky area where we're not quite sure what to expect from them. So
before we get too much into things, we'll let you know what we have coming up this weekend on the WBCB Sports Network on Friday, 7 p.m. on 107.7 FM The Bronx and online at 1077thebronx.com. It'll be Trenton Central at Notre Dame, a big matchup there between a couple of good teams. Carlos Toro will be on the call with Rich Fisher and Matt St. Ange. Then we'll come back on Saturday at noon on 107.7 FM The Bronx with Steinert and Princeton in action, that game being played at Steinert. And those are a couple of teams that we're still trying to feel out a little bit, I think. And Steinert coming off of that bye week. We'll see what they can do. Then at 2 o'clock, back here on 1490 AM WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com, it'll be West Windsor, Plainsboro South at Hamilton. And on that one, we will have Chris Ermer on the call. So should be an exciting weekend, a busy weekend, but I think if we're looking back to this past week, the big story that everyone is probably, well, almost everyone except for Heightstown probably is happy about, Robbinsville picking up their first win in a while.
Hail the Ravens. Hail the Ravens. It's been 17 long games and 3 coaches since Robbinsville last had a victory. God bless them. I mean, they lost 17 in a row, and they were losing to Heightstown 7-0 with 6 minutes to go. And then they got 2 touchdown runs from quarterback Andrew Aramondo at the end of the game in the last 6 minutes to break that losing streak. I think everybody kind of thought that they would do it this year. They had come close a few times, but just good to see a good bunch of kids who really went through some growing pains last year. And that defense held down a Heightstown team and a Ryan Conlon quarterback who threw for over 300 yards the week before. And Heightstown limited him and they got those Twomley triplets in that secondary, and they're tough. And, I think Robbinsville, I'm not going to say they turned the corner, but they certainly got a well-deserved victory, and congratulations to the Ravens.
Yeah, it's just great to see. They've had some struggles over the years. I can sympathize because I went to Ben Salem High School in Pennsylvania, and it's been a while since the Ben Salem team has won a football game, and we had some struggles while I was there as well. So, it's good to see Robbinsville get that win. A tough loss for Heightstown, though. They fall to 2-2 on the season, and now they'll look to right the ship against West Windsor, Plainsboro North, but Heightstown now 2-2, kind of in that murky area.
Yeah, they're in that murky area. We'll get to them in a little bit when we look forward to this week, yeah. The other big win that we were at, you and I were at, Hopewell Notre Dame, that was a pretty impressive performance by the Bulldogs. Granted, Xavier Lazinski did not play for Notre Dame, the starting quarterback, but Hopewell still ran the ball very well. I mean, Joey Mordino, another big game, 150 yards. Jeff Wiley, we saw him, the quarterback, carrying tacklers with him. So, whether you have Xavier Lazinski or not, you got to give Hopewell's offense a lot of credit for plowing away, dominating the line of scrimmage. And when Notre Dame punted late in the game with 5 minutes to go, Hopewell never let them get the ball back. They just ran out the clock. So great job by the Bulldogs. They're off to a 3-1 start.
Yeah, and not to make excuses for Notre Dame, because they did lose the game and they lost by 13 points, but the weather was probably a factor. Notre Dame is a team that likes to throw the ball. They want to get the ball downfield, and they can run. Alex Roman is absolutely outstanding out of the backfield.
Well, Hopewell did a good job on him, too.
They did.
But they could focus on him because they didn't have to worry about Lazinski.
Exactly, because there wasn't going to be a ton of throwing the ball downfield with bad weather, with the backup quarterback in. So I think if you play this game 10 times, it might go 5-5. These are two very good teams that played against each other on Friday. And even though Notre Dame is 2-2, I wouldn't put them in that murky area. I still think they're a pretty good team.
I think
they're not
a
one of
good
those
team,
teams where we don't know what's going on with them.
Right.
Hopewell, though, I would say is a very good team now. They're 3-1, a win over Notre Dame. I think we can start to expect big things from the Bulldogs of Hopewell Valley.
Yeah, their only loss was I think 10-7 to Burlington Township on opening day.
Right.
So, and that's when they didn't have their quarterback situation figured out. Since Wiley's come in at quarterback from tight end, they've won 3 straight, and he gives them an added dimension of a running quarterback. Not your prototypical running quarterback who maybe he'll sprint to the outside or get outside the pocket, but quarterback that runs straight ahead and just says, "Bring me down if you can."
That helps when your quarterback's 6'5", 225 pounds.
Yeah, D1 player, right? Exactly. Who also happens to play defensive end very well.
This is the Mercer County Football Show presented by St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton. We'll step aside, take a quick break. When we come back, we'll look at some of the other games from this past week of football in Mercer County. We'll be right back.
Discover the dealer for the people, Haldeman Ford Subaru, Route 33 in Hamilton Township. One of the region's finest state-of-the-art service facilities for all makes and models. A service facility so good, local school districts get their buses serviced at Haldeman. Police fleets, local municipalities get their cars and trucks serviced at Haldeman. From oil changes to tire sales, Haldeman Ford services all makes and models. And they offer tires for just $10 over cost on name brand tires like Goodyear and Pirelli. And their waiting room offers complimentary food. And there's a special Wi-Fi room available for your use. So no matter where you purchase your car, get it serviced at Haldeman Ford, the dealership for the people on Route 33 in Hamilton Township.
Jerry Blavitt here to tell you about St. Francis Medical Center, the heart hospital in the city of Trenton. St. Francis Medical Center is one of the region's top cardiac care centers, serving all of Mercer, Bucks, and Burlington counties. Their staff of highly trained physicians provide state-of-the-art heart care to patients with cardiovascular disease and pride themselves as being the only regional heart center to offer a full spectrum of individualized services. And Consumer Report ranks St. Francis Medical Center in the top 10 hospitals in New Jersey for safety, and the #1 hospital in Mercer County, St. Francis Medical Center, the Heart Hospital.
Welcome back to the Mercer County Football Show presented by St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton. I'm Sean Lerman with Rich Fisher of fish4scores.com. That's fish the number 4 scores.com. And Rich, Robbinsville's streak was not the only one that was broken this week. A big one that you'll be talking about on Fish for Scores.
Exactly. Well, congratulations, cheers to the Nottingham field hockey team, who yesterday took a 3-2 win over West Windsor South, broke a 26-game losing streak, a 45-game winless streak. It was their first win since October 18th, 2012. Well-deserving to Jen Sakal and her players. So Nottingham, way to go. Way to get off that schneid. Good job. And the Hamilton West field hockey team also took a big win on Senior Day to go 4-3-1, their first time they've been over 500 this late in the season in anyone's memory. So it's turning into a field hockey factory out there in Hamilton, Sean. But
there you go.
We'll get back to football now.
Well, before we do, remember you can read all about that at fish4scores.com or go on Twitter at fish the number 4 scores and follow Rich Fisher. So as we get back to football now with some of the stuff that happened in Mercer County last week, a big win for Trenton, 20-15 win on the road over West Windsor Plainsboro North.
That really was a big win because West Windsor North has shown that they're not going to be a pushover this year. Trenton was coming off a tough loss to Lenape, their first loss of the year. And Deshaun Peterson had a huge game, rushed for 253 yards and had touchdown runs of 48, 9, and 45 yards. So Deshaun Peterson with a great game. Trenton getting their running game going again. So nice job by the Tornadoes to beat a pretty tough opponent.
And we'll quickly run through the rest of the scores. There's the man, the myth, the legend, Bill Redner right there behind our camera. As we get to quickly some of the other scores before we take a break and preview next week. The Steinert Spartans had a bye week last week. Rancocas Valley now just 1-3 on the season after another loss, 42-7 at home. They fall to Northern Burlington, and things are not looking great right now for the Red Devils of Rancocas Valley. Hamilton coming off of a bye week. they lost to Cinnaminson 15-9. So a tough loss for Hamilton as they fall to 1-2 on the year. As we mentioned, Notre Dame fell to Hopewell Valley 19-6. The Allentown Redbirds had a bye this past week, so they'll return to action at Lenape this Friday. Nottingham, they fell to Pemberton in a tough game that you and Matt Miro did that came down at the very end on a rainy, ugly Saturday. That was probably a tough Saturday game out there.
It was ugly, but it was an exciting finish. Nottingham scored late with 2:21 to go, and then Pemberton came back first play, 60-yard touchdown pass to go ahead. So pretty wild game in the end.
West Windsor Plainsboro South falls to 0-4 on the year with a 36-12 home loss against Burlington Township. As we mentioned, the Northern Knights fell to Trenton Central. The Ewing Blue Devils got back to 500 on the season. A big win for them, 14-7 at home over Delran. That was one that Ewing definitely needed to get back to 500 on the year. The Princeton Tigers also got back to 500 with a 20-6 road win over Lawrence High School. As we mentioned earlier, Heightstown fell to Robbinsville 12-6, breaking that Robbinsville losing streak, and the Lawrence Cardinals fell to 0-4 with a loss against Princeton. So those are the scores from this past week in Mercer County. We'll step aside, take a quick break. When we come back, we'll preview the coming week of matchups in Mercer County here on the Mercer County Football Show, presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton. Back after this.
Hi, Merrill Reese to tell you about our good friends at the Revere Ristorante Italiano in nearby Ewing Township at 802 River Road. I can tell you that from South Philadelphia to New York's Mulberry Street, there's no better Italian cuisine than that served at the Revere. Start your meal with one of their great appetizers or salads. Entrees include outstanding veal dishes, fresh seafood daily, excellent steaks and chops, homemade pasta dishes, daily specials, and much more. You can also enjoy their bar area, where on most weekends, entertainment is offered. The Revere also does off-premise catering and can accommodate private parties for any affair, including business functions. Call the Revere Ristorante Italiano for more information and reservations at 609-882-6365. 882-6365. The Revere Ristorante Italiano open Monday through Friday for lunch and 7 days for dinner at 802 River Road, right off the Wilbertha Road exit on Route 29 in nearby Ewing Township.
Don't forget, if you miss any of your local high school sports action, you can read all about it in tomorrow's edition of the Trentonian. For your complete local and national news 7 days a week, it's the Trentonian, or online at thetrentonian.com. The only newspaper serving Bucks, Burlington, and Mercer County 7 days a week, it's the Trentonian.
Welcome back to the Mercer County Football Show, presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton. As we look ahead to the coming weekend of high school football in Mercer County, we'll take a look now at what games we have coming up on the WBCB Sports Network. On Friday at 7 p.m., Trenton Central will play at Notre Dame at 7 p.m. on 107.7 FM The Bronx and online at 1077thebronx.com. Carlos Toro and Rich Fisher on the call of that one with Matt St. Ange. We'll come back on Saturday at noon as Steiner hosts Princeton. That game also on 1077 The Bronx and online at 1077thebronx.com. Matt Miro and Rich Fisher have the call of that game. And then Hamilton will be in action at 2 p.m. as they host West Windsor Plainsboro South. That game can be heard on 1490 AM WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. And we talked about it briefly earlier, Rich, but that Trenton game against Notre Dame on Friday, that's a big one for both teams.
Yeah, Sean, that is. We should mention that every game this week is a divisional game, so all these games will count in the divisional standings. Trenton and Notre Dame, it's a colonial game. Trenton's 3-1, 1-1. Notre Dame's 2-2, 1-1. So both teams need a win to keep themselves, in position to maybe overtake Lenape to win the division. Trenton's coming off a really nice win, as we said, and I think that they're going to really want to try to. Well, they always want to establish their running game, but I think they may feel pretty good about their chances. Notre Dame had some trouble stopping Imordino and Wiley last week, so I think Trenton feels they might be able to come in and run the ball with Rashawn Peterson. But it's not just him; they have about 3 or 4 backs that they can give the ball to, and sometimes they might just feed the hot hand. Notre Dame, I'm not sure what the status is of Xavier Lazinski. He still has he had that toe issue last week that kept him out. So I'm not sure when he'll be back. One thing Notre Dame did do last week, they had that tough first half, but Greg Campion, if you remember, he started to get into a little bit of a rhythm in that second half. So he might have just needed a half to settle down, and he hadn't played in a while. So if he's the starter again this week, and they were actually rotating with Charles Hagan, if you remember, but Campion sort of got most of the snaps in the second half because he did get into a rhythm. So if he's a little more settled this week, then I think you'll see a more effective Notre Dame offense. I really look forward to this being a great game. This has always been a classic battle, going way back to the CVC days, and I don't see it being any different. Friday night at Notre Dame under the lights, it's going to be good stuff.
And if it is Campion, I think Notre Dame's comfortable with him back there. He started some games last year. He's an experienced player. It's not like you're throwing a freshman in there at quarterback, so they can certainly get by with Campion just fine. Rancocas Valley and Nottingham will be in action this weekend. They play on Friday, and as we mentioned earlier, the Red Devils now at 1-3 on the year, and this is a pretty good Nottingham team. That should be a tough matchup.
Yeah, I mean, Nottingham is stung. They were stung last week with that. They thought that they had a win. Well, I don't know if they thought they had the win, but they went up with 2:21 to go, so you think you're in pretty good shape with a lead that late in the game, and Pemberton came right back and stunned them for the 17-13 win. Nottingham really gutted it out all game. They were trailing most of the game. They battled it out. They grinded, and they finally got the win. Got the lead, and then that quick strike just kind of killed them. Rancocas Valley is really struggling this year. In their last two games, they've allowed 42 points in both games to losses to Notre Dame and Northern Burlington. So, that's got to have Nottingham a little excited. Nottingham was without their leading rusher last week, Ben Fair. He was not out of the game. He was out of the game because of discipline reasons. So I'm not sure if he'll be back this week or not. If he is, you're going against a defense that's really shown some vulnerability this year. So, Nottingham will probably try it. But it's a Friday night game, and it's down there. And Nottingham's traditionally had trouble with RV. So I think it's probably going to be a tight game.
Another one that we expect to be a good game, Steinert and Princeton, as we mentioned, the murky waters. And we don't know what to expect from teams. I think this is one where, if either team won by 20 points, I wouldn't be shocked. If it was a close game, I wouldn't be shocked. This should really be an interesting one that tells us a lot about both teams. Yeah, especially Princeton. It's really hard to get a feel for them this year. They haven't won. They've lost one, won one, lost one, won one. So that's as inconsistent as you can get. And they were playing a winless Lawrence team last week, and they were only winning 14-6 going into the fourth quarter, and then they got a touchdown pass from Dave Beamer to sort of put it away. And Beamer and Hellstrom, Roy Hellstrom, we talk about them every week, and they're dangerous. They're dangerous skill position guys, and they could be a threat against Steiner. And I'm thinking Steiner, they had a bye week. I'm thinking they worked pretty hard on that pass defense over the bye week because they gave up a ton of passing yards to Bishop McDevitt. But Steiner's feeling pretty good about themselves right now. They're 2-1. Nothing was really expected from them. And they got a big win over McDevitt because anytime a Jersey school beats a Pennsylvania school, it's a pretty good thing. A Mercer County school beats a Pennsylvania school. And, Steiner did that. They had a week off to heal up. Alex Rubio went crazy. He had 233 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns and was the Fish for Scores Athlete of the Week, I might add. There you go.
And so, their running game's coming along. Princeton's going to have to contend with Rubio, and we've seen that Muller's been able to throw the ball a little bit this year. So I think you're right. I think this is a game that both teams think that they can win, and to borrow a phrase from a local pro coach, it's going to come down to who will execute better in this game.
It's all about the execution. That's certainly the case. We'll take an in-depth look quickly at our other game on the WBCB Sports Network before we run through the remaining games in Mercer County this weekend. That's that Hamilton, West Windsor, Plainsboro South game Saturday at 2 o'clock on 1490 WBCB. And Hamilton 1-2, they need a big win this week. Yeah, they really do. They like Nottingham, they were in the driver's seat last week. They had a late lead, and then they fumbled the ball away. And Cinnaminson got a late touchdown from their quarterback, who's Sean Davila, who's
pretty good. And that was a tough loss for the Hornets to take. They did drop to 1-2. They actually put in a new quarterback. Sophomore Hezekiah Patterson was their quarterback. He took over, and he did some pretty good things. So I guess they're going to go with him. I didn't hear anything to the contrary. West Windsor, they just need something. They were victimized by 2 long scoring plays last week in their loss. They gave up an 80-yard kickoff return to Drew Price and an 80-yard touchdown run to Drew Price. Their only TDs came on a recovered fumble in the end zone and a 1-yard run from Nick Princiatis. So they're struggling, and like any struggling team, they're just going to look to try to build, every play, every quarter, do something positive. And Hamilton really can't look past this game, though. Hamilton's got to kick it in gear and get moving.
We'll quickly run through the remaining games on the Mercer County schedule this weekend. Hopewell Valley at 3-1 will travel to Willingboro on Friday at 7 p.m. The Allentown Redbirds have a tough matchup as they play at Lenape Friday. That's going to be a big game for Allentown at 2-1, coming off a bye week, though, so they have a good chance in that one. As we mentioned, Nottingham and Rancocas Valley in action. West Windsor, Plainsboro South, and Hamilton. The Northern Knights of West Windsor, Plainsboro will travel to Heightstown this weekend, and West Windsor, Plainsboro North 1-3 on the year. That Heightstown team is 2-2, so a big matchup for both of those schools. The Ewing Blue Devils will host Northern Burlington. That's going to be a tough one for Ewing to get above 500 on the season. As we mentioned, Princeton and Steinert in action Saturday at noon on 107.7 Bronx. The Lawrence Cardinals will travel to Burlington Township, and Robbinsville will play at Bordentown on Friday at 7 p.m. And that's all the games for this coming weekend. It should be a good week of Mercer County football.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, you want to just give a quick comment on each of these?
Go for it,
games?
Rich.
Yeah,
Like to hit me with it. You did the prep. I don't want to take that away from you.
Well, let me look at my notes here. That's okay. We did that. The Ewing game. I mean, Ewing is a lot like Princeton. They've won one, they've lost one, they've won one, they've lost one. So they're gonna, they fell behind last week, came back and took the lead. Them, like Princeton, are looking to get some consistency going. So they'll see what they can do. All right, this we did. Allentown Lenape, like you said,
That's a big one.
that could be the game of the week. I mean, Allentown, they're 2-2 and they're 1-1, and Coach Jay Graber said at last week's 12th Man TD Club that was not an upset when Nottingham defeated them, and I guess we called it an upset, and I think he said it was not an upset, and I think that's more of a praise to Nottingham and what he thinks of the Nottingham program. But this is going to be a great game because Allentown's got unbelievable skill players. Joe Mimino has rushed for 589 yards for Allentown, and nobody knows about him because Jordan Winston is 98 yards away from 1,000 yards, the quarterback.
That's amazing. Just 4 games into the season.
Yeah, 4 games
got
into the
almost
season.
1,000 yards.
And he's the quarterback, and it's not like people don't know about him. So Lenape's going to try to stop him. Lenape's got Bryce Long. He's a great quarterback, and he's got a strong weapon with Ryan Schutz. Hopewell, Willingboro. Willingboro's 1-3. Hopewell's coming off a great win. They just want to keep riding that momentum. I look for the Bulldogs to have another big game. West Windsor North at Heightstown. West Windsor North, I'll tell you what, Robbinsville did West Windsor North no favors because Heightstown is going to be so fired up after losing that game. I mean, not to say it's bad to lose to Robbinsville, but nobody wants to be the victim of a losing streak being snapped, a long losing streak. And Heightstown was. It's Heightstown's Hall of Fame night this week. They induct all their new Hall of Fame members, so it's going to be a pretty emotional night. So the Rams could be a pretty fired up bunch.
Yeah, I think after coming off that loss last week, they're really going to be ready to play.
Yep. Robbinsville at Bordentown. Now, this is going to sound crazy, Sean, but Robbinsville can't look past this game. And the reason I say that is Bordentown's 0-3, or 0-4, and they're 0-2 in the Liberty Division. So Robbinsville, coming off a win, might be looking at Bordentown and saying, they don't have a win, we have a win, we're going to cruise. I'm not saying that they're thinking that, but I guarantee you Andrew Patterson, the coach, is telling them that this week. You don't look past these guys because they're 0-4. So that's the focus. Keep them focused on this win and don't get too high over the last win. Lawrence, that could be a tough game at Burlington Township. Lawrence has been struggling this year. They've only scored 26 points in their last 3 games. Township's 3-1 and 2-0 in the Patriot. Lawrence just like West Windsor South. They just need to do some good things to get themselves excited about things. And that's about it, my friend.
That's about it. This has been the Mercer County Football Show, presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton. He's Rich Fisher. I'm Sean Lerman. We'll see you next week.